Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Business. Before we start with our guest today, I want to provide a shout out to Zoe Hendricks of Canvas House Studio. Zoe, I'm absolutely thrilled with the new Achieve Growth and Prosperity logo and brand design you created for me. Your work perfectly captures the essence of my vision. Thank you so much for your creativity and dedication. I truly appreciate your talent and the fantastic results you've delivered. Today, we're thrilled to host Elizabeth Solaru, a trailblazing luxury business strategist and multi-award winning entrepreneur. Elizabeth, the author of the Luxpreneur and founder of the Diversity and Luxury Awards, is reshaping the luxury industry with her expertise in brand development, diversity, and business reinvention. As a host of luxury business podcasts, she empowers diverse voices to thrive in the luxury sector through innovation, strategy, and inclusive leadership. From understanding ultra-high net worth individuals to navigating global trends, Elizabeth's insights span the entire spectrum of luxury business strategy. So, without further ado, Elizabeth, it's absolutely wonderful to see you again. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. And I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait for our conversation.
To start with, would you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself and your business with our audience?
Yes, I'm Elizabeth Solaru, and I started my life as a scientist. I was a microbiologist and then became a headhunter in the city, recruiting C-suite executives and chief execs, etc. And then 2008, the market hit, and I decided to set up my own business. And from that, I began to work with ultra high net worth individuals and royalty. And that's taken me around the world and it's made me known within my sector. And then when the pandemic hit, I suddenly realized that there was all this knowledge that I had because I got invited to speak in so many online forums and so many rooms on Clubhouse about luxury and luxury clients. So I then decided to take all this knowledge and put it in a book, and we are where we are today.
Outstanding. So, it's never an easy journey. How do you define success today?
Oh, success for me today is completely different to maybe 30 years ago. Now it's all about great health. It's all about thriving. And it's all about doing the work that brings you joy. So that's how I define success. Because if you define success materially, there's never enough. You'll never have enough. So for me, success is around contentment and being happy doing whatever it is you're doing.
Outstanding. And you've kind of alluded to this, but where did your definition of success begin?
My definition, I believe, began as a child. My parents met as students when they came to the UK to study. And after their qualifications, they took us back to their home country, Nigeria. And it was a culture shock. When I tell you it was a shock, it was a culture shock. And I remember my tongue burning a lot because of the food. But then after a while, I got used to it. But the one thing that clearly stood out was around values. It was a completely different place to what it is today. It was all about values. It was all about, there was something around contentment. And I remember in school, we had a particular subject called moral instruction, which was really strange. It wasn't anything to do with religion. It was just called moral instruction. And we'll go through certain scenarios, good, bad, ugly, what would you do, etc. So that was when I began to realize that success wasn't just about making a shed load of money, but it was also about community. It was about what you can give back. It was all about what you do that gives you joy and contentment. So it was all around that. And also working with very high powered people, chief execs or ultra high network or royalty. Again, the whole spectrum of humanity is laid out in front of you because it doesn't matter how much money somebody has or how accomplished they are. We're all human and we all have a good side and a not so great side. And all humans, we all have our blind spots. And that was a thing that I constantly find that a lot of people don't even recognize their own blind spots. So again, it's all about, yes, you can be successful in one area, so you can have a lot of money, but you can have failing relationships, or you can have excellent relationships and excellent and lots of money, but then you could have something inside you that's never quite fulfilled or satisfied. So again, success, I define my success in for me.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, the challenges from there to today, it's never an easy journey. What are one or two of those challenges and the lessons learned you can pass along to our audience?
Plenty. I believe everything starts from within. So it's all about your conditioning, your confidence levels, your readiness levels, your willingness to learn and adapt. So there was all that in the journey, because if you're the most equipped person, if you don't have the confidence to even just put yourself out there and then follow through. Or if you don't have the confidence to stand for what you believe in particular in a corporate environment, just because it's that's a culture, that's the way of doing things, doesn't mean it's the right way. And sometimes it takes getting outside of that environment for you to realize, oh my God, I've literally just been following the status quo and I've not been true to myself. So there's a lot around being true to yourself. So when you don't follow the norms, there is a price to pay. And if you're somebody like me, I stick out wherever, so I can decide to either use that for good or to use that for that. But the most important thing is the learning from them. Even when you deem it as a failure, I don't always see it as a failure. I'm thinking, what can I learn from this? And more importantly, what am I going to do differently? So for me, that journey is continuous, by the way. I don't think anyone ever arrives at a point where you go, oh, look at me, I've arrived. You don't. There's a learning. Even I believe I'm going to be learning to the day I die. However, along the way, like somebody said, just make sure you don't fail the same way twice and you'll be all right.
Absolutely love it. Matter of fact, to expand on that just a little bit, you mentioned that I'll call it pushing outside the box or taking steps outside the box, relocating to a new state, trying something you haven't tried before, hiking in the mountains, whatever it may be. Every single one of those stretches us, allows us to learn, allows us to expand those horizons so that we can further take steps outside the box. But every one of those steps has challenges associated with it. Part of that is just overcoming our own fear. Part of that is facing the new reality of whatever's on the other side of that box. Is that a fair way to express that?
Oh, I think you've summed it up beautifully. And I will also say that sometimes we don't allow ourselves the time and the patience, because if you're doing something new for the first time, it's like learning to walk, you toddle a few steps and you fall, toddle and you fall. But sometimes once we fall, we think it's a bad thing. And yes, we may get up again, but we think, oh my God, we need to try and prevent falling without thinking, actually, it's not the falling, it's actually making sure that you get up again and again and again. So it's about giving yourself time to learn a new thing and to know that you're not going to be great at it the first time. You may be by some fluke if you're maybe naturally inclined, but you need to give yourself the time, the space, and the patience to learn and to move in that new direction. And I call or being ridiculed, I call it the currency of success. When you start something and you're the lone person doing it, because right now in the luxury sector, I'm like, look, guys, we need to change the way we do things. And it looks like I'm the voice in the wilderness, just screeching into the void. However, the Bain and Company, the management consultants that they do analysis on the luxury sector, they came out saying, actually, this is where the new pockets of luxury are going to be. So this is where you're going to make money. And these are the countries you're going to make money from. And that's exactly what I put in my book saying, guys, you've been sleeping on XYZ. But people sometimes are so stuck in their own ways, their comfort zone. And to be fair, if it's worked for 100 years, why change it? But this is a new age. This is the age of technology. This is another shift in society from in the industrialized age. I remember when was it Henry Ford that said he doesn't think there'll ever be more than 1 million cars or something like that, or 10,000 cars or something like that. And yeah, I mean, he was kind of not completely wrong, but he wasn't right either. So the point is, we nobody knows, but we have an indicator and we have a signifier from the past to say the things you're sleeping on today could very well prove to be the outlet or the outcome of the future. So yeah, that's what I kind of feel about that.
So most of us have heard that old expression, cycle of life. And today's
Exactly.
cycle of life really must include a cycle of learning and adapting. Fair
Yeah.
statement?
Oh, completely, completely. We learn, we adapt, then we unlearn. Learn, adapt, unlearn. So right now, I know the big thing is about the internet and AI and how does it, but then in 50 years, people might look back and go, oh my God, how uncivilized was that? We don't even have to type anything. AI just reads our thoughts. You never know. That could very well happen in the future. So where even thinking is outsourced, even certain things are outsourced completely, and all we do is exist in this lovely utopia. But you never know.
Yeah. Dawn, my wife and I were talking about something similar. And, as fast as some of the technology is going in 2025, there's going to be just an explosion of AI agents expanding, significantly expanding on the chatbot fours that are out there today, which some of the best of those are absolutely incredible. And I see the potential in the next 3 to 5 years for some of that AI thinking for us to
Mhm.
really explode. To what degree? Who knows? But it's going to be a very interesting world, and we're going to continuously learn and adapt, right?
Exactly. But I think the one thing, well, having said the one thing I feel AI can't do is be us, the social aspect. But having said that, it is now possible to create a twin of yourself. So I can send my twin to go deliver an online conference somewhere halfway around the world while I'm chilling in bed. That's already happening. So who knows?
Exactly. So we've already kind of moved into that conversation around innovation. Anything else relative to how you're leveraging innovation to help drive your business and success?
With innovation, I think again, technology is definitely right up there with for me. But I also think, and I know this is might be counterintuitive, I also think going back to old-fashioned methods for me, what people might deem to be old-fashioned, because I feel that stands out from a raft of emails or a raft of messages, etc., that is done online. So I literally go back to old-fashioned telephone calls or even letter writing, because I've realized that even just writing a letter, that, when people get the post now, it tends to be bills. But imagine a beautifully written letter drops in your mailbox. You will look at that because it stands out.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, I absolutely adore AI and I know the possibilities are endless. And I remember a few years ago, I predicted a newspaper that will bring you the news according to your mood. So if it's read that, oh, today you're a bit, it'll send bring you good news and that sort of thing. But I also realized that there is something about the human touch that can't be replicated. So for me, that human touch is what I'm trying to bring back as well as technology in my business.
Wonderful. Absolutely outstanding. And to your point, it's been a few months since I've taken a look at the statistics, but if I'm not mistaken, direct mail is actually on the rise relative to the open rate versus emails and other forms. Text is up there too, but I personally have a hard time with texts because I know I hate getting them. But direct mail seems to be a way to really be able to connect. So that old school is kind of recycling itself. It's really going to be interesting to see how this evolves over the future.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. And I was talking about it the other day where I was talking about when I started my business, how what I did, I literally contacted my local minicab office because one of the drivers told me that they leaflet. And I said to them, if I give you a few beautifully designed cards, would you drop them in the nicest houses in the neighborhood? And they said yes. And that for me got me some of my earlier really wealthy clients. And I'm thinking, if anyone did that now, if I got a beautiful card through the mail, I would definitely keep that. I would. So there are things that we did out of, and I just did that out of desperation and creativity. It wasn't as if I had this great master plan or anything. And you just wonder, the more things change, the more as humans, we stay the same in terms of what we want to receive and how we want to feel. Because at the end of the day, it's about feelings, emotions, and I'm not so sure that AI can replicate that yet.
I agree. We're still creativity. We're the architects of our vision, the architects of how we achieve that vision. And can AI really ever replicate that? And I'm hoping not in some ways.
I agree with you.
And if it happens to, the question is how we continue to evolve and leverage this to evolve as better and better human beings over time. So it's going to be an interesting journey, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly will. And I think another thing that's happening is obviously the data sets that are used to train AI, they need more of that because as we evolve in the future. So our data, for example, is that a leverageable commodity? Is that saleable? How much does the data you've collected over about yourself over the course of your life, how much is that worth in monetary terms? So those are the sorts of conversations we'll be having. And how can we take control of our own data? Because right now we
Yes.
think we have, but yeah, sorry.
No, no, I was just agreeing with you. I 100%
Yeah,
agree. I've even
yeah.
read some things recently about being able to take control of our own data. I'm anxiously awaiting that full capability.
I mean, I know there are a couple of people I know that are working on that. And in particular, they're looking at data of celebrities because, and it's the irony is that the press has written so much about these celebrities. They've helped the celebrity build an amazing brand. So these assets, as they call them, what are they worth? So is somebody like, I don't know, say Taylor Swift, who's a billionaire in her own right, her data must be worth even more billions compared to Joe or Joanna Public. So that's really fascinating. So how will somebody like that take control of their own data?
Yeah. Or how does that average person out there, that small, medium-sized business owner out there, leverage it to help them and their achieve their growth and prosperity? Absolutely. Final takeaway for our audience, if there was one thing that you could share with them to say you really must consider this as part of your life and business success, what would that be?
I would say, oh, that's a really great question. I would say follow your instincts, even find the, if you can find the data to back you up, great. And even when you can't, because for example, in luxury, people don't need luxury products, to be honest with you. In terms of basic hierarchy of needs, a lot of luxury products are not needed, but we crave them. So sometimes when you create, you're creating out of instinct, out of this is a luxury product, and yeah, let's see how this will do. And the data might tell you there's nothing, there's no reason for you to create something like that, or 1,000 already exist, etc., etc. But I would say always follow your instincts, but back up your instincts with the right kind of smart working, hard work, etc. And back up your instincts with your ability to sell because you even if you have the best amazing product, it's not going to sell itself. So your ability to sell and your ability to target the right people. So that's my advice. But if you have an instinct for something, if you have an idea, please, please, please go ahead and create it because the world might just be waiting for you. Because if Louis Vuitton, an orphan when he was 13 and he walked barefoot to Paris for 2 years. He walked 300 miles to Paris, arrived when he was 15, became an apprentice, and he had this idea that, oh, why are we creating rounded luggage? Why not create them flat? That was it. And that is how he created the very classic trunk, the Louis Vuitton trunk that we have today. So please, 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 no idea is too small. Just go ahead and follow your instincts.
Wonderful message. I want to thank you for joining us today with a special thanks to Elizabeth Solaru for sharing valuable insights and success strategies in the luxury business world. We hope you feel inspired and empowered to tackle entrepreneurial challenges with innovation, inclusivity, and adaptability. Remember, success in the luxury market is personal. Define it for yourself, but always strive for excellence and authenticity. Before we wrap up, I'd like to pose a question to our listeners. What challenges have you faced in breaking into or navigating the luxury market? We'd love to hear your experiences and how Elizabeth's insights might help you overcome these obstacles. Thanks again to Elizabeth and to all of our listeners. And we'll see you next time as we continue exploring more stories from incredible entrepreneurs. Stay resilient, stay innovative, and remember, luxury is not just about products. It's about creating exceptional experiences and lasting value. Have a wonderful day, everyone.